Okay, so picture this. It is Monday morning. You're sitting at your desk. The house is completely quiet. You've got fresh coffee, and your inbox is, well, temporarily subdued.
A rare moment of peace, right?
Exactly. And you are just filled with this absolute unshakable resolve. You've blocked out 60 minutes on your calendar for deep, uninterrupted strategic work.
Oh, the Monday morning optimism. We all know it.
We really do. You tell yourself, I'm going to crush this new habit. I'm going to be a proactive, high-level visionary this week. And on Monday, you actually do it.
Wow, okay, a success story.
Yeah. You shut down Slack, you close your email, you execute. It feels amazing. You feel completely in control of your career. But then, Tuesday comes around.
Reality hits.
Right. A minor crisis hits with a client, and you manage to squeeze in maybe 30 minutes of that block. Then by Wednesday, 3 urgent, non-negotiable meetings get dropped on your calendar by your boss or maybe your board.
So the block just evaporates.
Completely disappears. And by Thursday afternoon, the very idea of that deep work block is just the source of ambient guilt radiating in the back of your mind.
Yeah, the habit is entirely dead.
Totally dead. And you're back exactly where you started, feeling like you're just constantly putting out fires. We have all been there.
Absolutely. Everyone has.
But what if the problem isn't that your willpower is broken? What if the problem is that you are relying on willpower in the first place?
Well, that's the thing, right? Willpower is a deeply finite resource.
Welcome to the deep dive, by the way. I'm your host, and I'm here with our expert to completely tear apart this exact premise. If you are listening to this, you are a busy professional, you are managing a chaotic schedule, and you're trying to figure out how to actually move the needle when the day-to-day chaos is constantly threatening to pull you under.
And that's exactly what we're going to unpack today.
Yeah, we're conducting a forensic investigation into the mechanical failure of your habit systems. We're using some brilliant insights from Jessica Butler's newsletter, The Upgrade Curve. Specifically, a piece she wrote analyzing the Never Miss Twice framework.
It's such a fascinating piece. She really dives into the secret to unbreakable consistency for high achievers.
Right. And our mission here is to extract the exact operating system elite performers use to compound small wins and prevent burnout. We're going to look at 3 specific habits for busy leaders, how to maintain them, and how to apply the 2-minute rule to these professional routines.
Which is huge, because what Butler is analyzing here is fundamentally about survival for high achievers. But let's be careful not to frame this as just another list of productivity hacks.
Oh, definitely not.
Yeah, it requires a complete paradigm shift in how you view your own psychology.
Okay, let's unpack this. Let's start with that paradigm shift. Because every time we fail at a habit, whether it's that deep work block or working out or doing a nightly review, the immediate default is self-blame.
We always blame ourselves.
Always. We say, I just didn't have enough motivation, or I'm just not disciplined enough. But blaming a lack of motivation assumes motivation was the right tool for the job.
Which it absolutely isn't.
Right. So why is relying on motivation such a catastrophic error for someone trying to build a resilient professional routine?
Because, honestly, motivation is literally just a neurochemical state.
A neurochemical state.
Yeah. When you set that intention on Monday morning, you are riding this high of dopamine and aspiration, you're visualizing your future success, and your brain rewards you with a hit of motivation.
So it feels really good in the moment.
It feels great. But emotions are inherently volatile. They are affected by external stimuli. A passive-aggressive email from a colleague, a bad commute, a poorly timed software update, anything can ruin it.
So when your habit falls apart on Thursday, you assume your character is flawed.
Exactly. You think the fuel ran out because you are weak. But what Butler points out is that relying on motivation is a flawed strategy because you're asking a volatile emotion to do the job of a structural mechanism.
That makes so much sense. If your career growth relies on something as fragile as your daily mood, it's just gonna break.
It will inevitably break.
So if motivation is an unreliable engine, what usually replaces it? For most high achievers, the default alternative is perfectionism, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Like, if I can't rely on feeling good, I'll rely on this ironclad militant discipline. I will construct a perfect streak. But perfectionism is really the villain of this entire dynamic, isn't it?
It really is. It's this rigid structure that practically guarantees psychological collapse.
How so?
Well, think about the architecture of a skyscraper or a suspension bridge. If engineers build them to be perfectly rigid, they will literally snap in the first major windstorm or earthquake.
Oh, so they have to be able to move.
Right, they have to be engineered to sway. They need a tolerance for disruption. Perfectionism lacks that tolerance completely.
Okay, let's apply that to the Monday deep work scenario we talked about. You miss your deep work block on Monday because of some unexpected client escalation. According to this framework we're looking at, what is the actual cost of that first missed day?
Mathematically and neurologically, the cost of that first miss is practically zero.
Wait, really? Zero?
Yeah, basically zero. Butler explicitly categorizes this as no big deal, life happens. A single lapse does not rewrite your neural pathways. The brain is incredibly forgiving of an isolated failure.
So it's literally just a data point.
Precisely. It is an objective piece of data. An external variable interfered with your scheduled action. The danger is not the Monday miss.
Then what is the danger?
The critical defining danger. I mean, the moment where careers stagnate and habits die is what happens in your head on Tuesday morning.
Because on Tuesday, the friction isn't just the task itself. You're carrying the ghost of Monday's failure.
Exactly. You are facing a massive psychological headwind. On Tuesday, you aren't just trying to do a deep work block. You are trying to overcome the subconscious feeling that you are already feeling.
Which makes the resistance multiply.
Exponentially. And if you succumb to that resistance and miss again on Tuesday, you trigger a cascade of psychological consequences.
So the hidden pattern separating adequate leaders from exceptional ones isn't how rarely they experience that first miss. Life hits everyone.
Right. The differentiator is the speed of their recovery.
I really want to dig into the psychological damage of that second consecutive miss, because this is where the concept of identity comes into play.
Yes, identity is huge here.
The phrasing used in Butler's analysis is so striking. She says, your identity as someone who does this starts to erode. We usually think of habits as things we do, but this suggests habits are actually who we are.
And that is the foundation of modern behavioral science. Every action you take is a vote for the type of person you believe you are.
A vote. I like that.
Yeah, so when you protect an hour for strategic thinking, you're subconsciously signaling to yourself, I am a proactive strategic leader who controls my own time.
And when you exercise, you're casting a vote that says, I am an athlete, or I prioritize physical vitality.
Exactly. So when you miss that first day on Monday, you can easily rationalize it as a fluke. You tell yourself, I am still the strategic leader, I just had a crazy Monday.
So your internal narrative remains completely intact.
Right. But the second miss, that destroys the narrative.
Because it's a pattern now.
Exactly. The second consecutive miss forces the brain to look for a new pattern.
Yeah.
Your brain is this incredibly efficient pattern recognition machine.
Right.
So when you miss Tuesday, your subconscious says, wait a minute, we missed Monday and now we are missing Tuesday. Maybe we aren't a strategic leader. Maybe we are just a reactive manager who is constantly hostage to the inbox.
Wow. So that is the identity erosion. You just stop seeing yourself as the kind of person who follows through.
And once the identity shifts, the behavioral momentum is completely dead.
It's terrifying because it happens so quietly. It's not this loud, dramatic failure. It's just a slow, quiet leak in your self-image.
Which is why this perfectionist approach, this demand for 100% strike rate, is directly linked to the burnout epidemic we see among executives and founders right now.
I mean, if you look at the daily reality of someone managing a P&L, leading a team, launching a product, their environment is defined by volatility.
Totally. You are dealing with intense travel, sudden market shifts, personnel crises. If your internal system for personal growth demands absolute, unyielding perfection, you are operating in direct conflict with reality.
Perfectionism demands a flawless streak, which is mathematically impossible over a long enough timeline in an executive's life.
So every time the streak breaks, you experience a micro-failure.
And those micro-failures just accumulate.
They do. They create chronic anxiety. You start to dread the habit because it feels like a test you're destined to fail. And that chronic anxiety eventually metastasizes into burnout.
So the alternative is shifting from a perfection-based system to a recovery-based system,
Right.
a framework that creates resilience precisely because it expects reality to intervene.
Right. It expects you to fail sometimes.
But wait, if our professional survival requires a system that expects us to fail, how do we prevent that expected failure from turning into a psychological free pass to just slack off?
That's a great question.
It's like getting a flat tire on your car. Perfectionism says, well, the drive is ruined, might as well slash the other 3 tires. Recovery mindset says, put on the spare and keep driving. But I can hear some high-achieving listeners right now thinking, if I plan for a miss, I am lowering my standards, I am encouraging mediocrity.
It's a valid fear, sure, but it completely misunderstands the goal of a recovery system. Planning for a miss is not an excuse to be lazy. It's a structural insurance policy for your momentum.
An insurance policy.
Yeah, think of a hospital's power grid. They
Yeah.
don't install backup generators because they want the power to fail, or because they're lazy about maintaining the main grid.
Right, they do it for emergencies.
They install backup generators because they know that eventually a storm will come, and if the power goes out, the results are catastrophic.
So the goal isn't to miss. The goal is to ensure that when a miss inevitably occurs, it doesn't trigger that identity erosion and behavioral collapse.
Exactly. A recovery-based strategy is pragmatic. It acknowledges that a brittle strategy shatters under pressure. A flexible strategy bends, absorbs the shock, and rebounds instantly.
Look, anyone listening to this who has read any modern productivity literature, specifically James Clear's Atomic Habits, they already know the basic rule: never miss twice.
Right, it's a very popular concept.
We know the concept. One miss is a data point, two misses is the beginning of a new habit. But what Butler's analysis exposes is that simply knowing the rule conceptually and having a mechanism to actually execute it on a chaotic Tuesday evening are two entirely different things.
Completely different.
So before we get to the mechanism, let's talk about the neurology of why that 48-hour window is so critical.
Okay, from a neurological standpoint, habit formation is all about myelination.
Myelination.
Yeah, it's the process of reinforcing neural pathways in the brain. When you repeat an action, the pathway becomes more insulated and faster. The resistance drops.
It gets easier to do.
Exactly. Behavioral research shows that if you skip a single day, that myelin sheath does not significantly degrade. The brain holds the pathway open, essentially waiting to see if you will return.
But at the 48-hour mark,
Right. At the 48-hour mark, the second consecutive missed day triggers a different biological response.
what happens?
The brain assumes this pathway is no longer a priority and begins a process called synaptic pruning. It literally starts dismantling the infrastructure to save energy.
Oh, wow. Synaptic pruning. So it's literally tearing down the road you built.
Yes. The behavioral translation of synaptic pruning is that new, unwanted habit forming. The resistance to doing the work on Wednesday will be exponentially higher than it was on Monday.
And this matters disproportionately for leaders because of a concept Butler calls invisible drag.
Invisible drag is such a crucial concept here.
Let's break that down. When we talk about high-leverage professional habits, deep work, strategic thinking, daily exercise, synthesizing complex reading, or maintaining leadership rituals like team check-ins.
Right. These are big, important tasks.
But they are not things that produce a massive visible spike in revenue on the day you do them.
No, absolutely not. Their value is entirely rooted in their compounding nature over time.
Exactly. So let's imagine a CEO who decides to block out an hour every morning for pure, unadulterated strategic thinking, looking out 6 months, analyzing market trends, entirely disconnected from daily operations.
A great habit to have.
Right. But on Monday, she misses the block to handle a PR crisis. On Tuesday, she misses it because she's exhausted from Monday and just wants to clear her inbox. According to the Never Miss Twice framework, she just started a new habit of skipping strategy. What happens over the next 6 months?
Well, the consequences of missing that strategy block twice this week are entirely invisible in the short term. The company's stock price won't plummet on Wednesday.
Her board won't call her in a panic.
Right. The day-to-day operations will continue humming along. That is the danger of invisible drag. But because she has pruned that neural pathway, she stops dedicating time to the horizon.
She gets stuck in the weeds.
Exactly. 3 months later, a competitor releases a feature she should have anticipated. 6 months later, she finds herself entirely in a reactive crouch, losing market share, and wondering why she feels so far behind.
And the failure didn't happen at the 6-month mark. The failure happened on that Tuesday when she missed the habit for the second time and allowed the invisible drag to take hold.
Precisely.
Here's where it gets really interesting, though. Knowing the devastating cost of that invisible drag is exactly why we need a mechanical bypass.
We need a tool.
Because when it is Tuesday night, you are physically exhausted, you have 80 unread emails, and you are staring down the barrel of a 60-minute workout or a complex strategic planning session. I mean, philosophy is useless.
Completely useless.
Knowing about neural pruning isn't going to get you off the couch. We need a tool to short-circuit the failure.
Because a philosophy without a mechanism is just a wish. We have to bypass the brain's threat detection system.
And that brings us to the engine of this entire recovery system, the 2-minute rule.
Yes.
Butler highlights a habit platform called Quickstreak, which is designed around recovery-based consistency rather than perfectionist video game-style streaks.
It's built to eliminate broken streak shame.
Exactly. But the core principle it relies on is scaling any massive habit down to something you can execute in 120 seconds or less.
Right. And to understand why this works, you have to look at how the amygdala processes stress.
Okay, lay it on us.
So, when you are depleted on a Tuesday evening, your amygdala, which is the emotional and threat processing center of the brain, looks at a 60-minute workout. It calculates the energy required, looks at your current depleted state, and flags that workout as a literal threat to your survival reserves.
Oh, wow. A literal threat. So it creates massive psychological friction.
Exactly. It will manufacture any excuse to avoid the treadmill.
But if the requirement for Tuesday is simply a 2-minute action, say putting on your running shoes and stretching your hamstrings for 120 seconds.
The amygdala does not perceive that as a metabolic threat. The alarm bells do not ring. The psychological resistance drops to near zero.
The quote that stands out here from the sources: "The goal isn't intensity at first, it's showing up."
Showing up is everything.
We are trying to combat the all-or-nothing spiral. The perfectionist brain says, I don't have an hour to do my full deep work routine, so it's ruined, I'll just check emails. The 2-minute rule says, I don't have an hour, but I have 120 seconds. Let me execute the micro version.
And by executing the micro version, you cast the vote for your identity.
You tell your brain, I am still the person who engages with this priority, even in the midst of a disastrously chaotic day.
Exactly. You prevent the synaptic pruning.
I really want to press you on this, though. If I am a listener whose goal is to build a massive enterprise or get in peak physical shape to run a marathon, how does a 2-minute placeholder actually achieve anything?
It's a fair question.
I mean, I cannot build a multi-million-dollar business on 2 minutes of work, and I certainly can't build cardiovascular endurance by stretching for 120 seconds. Are these just empty psychological pacifiers to make ourselves feel better about failing?
It is the most logical skepticism you can have,
Yeah.
but it requires understanding the difference between the output of a habit and the infrastructure of a habit.
Okay. Elaborate on that.
The 2-minute actions are not designed to replace the full habit. They're designed to be what Butler calls momentum protectors.
Momentum protectors. Explain how that functions in practice.
Okay, think of the pilot light in a massive industrial furnace.
A pilot light, okay.
That tiny blue flame is not going to heat a 10,000 square foot building. Its heat output is negligible. But if that pilot light goes out, the entire system shuts down.
Oh.
The pipes freeze, the machinery locks up, and it requires a massive, coordinated, highly energetic intervention to restart the entire furnace from zero.
That is a phenomenal way to look at it. The 2-minute rule is just keeping the pilot light on in your brain.
Exactly. On a normal day, when you have energy and time, you turn the dial up and let the furnace roar for 60 minutes. You do the full workout, you write the full strategy document.
But on a disaster day?
On a disaster day, when your schedule implodes, your only job is to protect the pilot light. You do the 2 minutes to keep the flame alive.
So it protects the habit pathway in your brain.
It prevents the second miss. It ensures that when Wednesday arrives and the chaos is cleared, you don't have to overcome the massive friction of restarting a cold furnace. You just turn the dial back up.
So how do we install these pilot lights? Butler provides 3 very specific real-world case studies for busy leaders, showing exactly how to apply this 2-minute rule to high-leverage professional routines.
These examples are so practical.
Let's walk through these because this is where the theory becomes a weapon. We want to list 3 specific habits for busy leaders, show how to maintain them, and apply the 2-minute rule to these professional routines. Let's look at the first one, the executive's deep work.
Right. The scenario here is incredibly common for anyone in senior management. The executive has a 60-minute deep work session scheduled. Monday happens, the schedule blows up, she misses it.
The never miss twice rule is now activated.
She absolutely cannot miss Tuesday.
But let's assume Tuesday is also a disaster. She is double booked from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. She does not have 60 minutes. What is the 2-minute recovery?
Well, according to the framework, the next day, she executes a 2-minute focus ritual.
What does that look like?
Specifically, she closes her laptop, opens a physical notebook, and spends 120 seconds writing down one singular strategic priority.
One priority. That is it.
That is the momentum protector. Think about the cognitive shift that requires. Deep work for an executive is about generating clarity and defining strategic direction.
Yeah, but when she is trapped in back-to-back meetings, her brain is locked in a reactive state.
Exactly. She is just returning volleys, putting out fires, answering
She's
questions.
playing defense.
Right. But the act of closing the laptop, opening a notebook, and defining one priority forces her brain to transition, even if just for 2 minutes, from a reactive state to a proactive state.
She's engaging the exact same neural circuits she uses for a full, deep work session.
She is preserving the identity of a focused leader who dictates her own priorities.
And if she didn't do this, if she missed twice and let the pilot light go out, she would wake up on Wednesday feeling entirely unmoored, completely at the mercy of whatever emergencies pop up in her inbox.
Absolutely.
By taking those 2 minutes on Tuesday, she maintains her grip on the steering wheel. She might only be driving 1 mile an hour, but she is still the one driving.
That's a great analogy.
Okay, let's look at the second persona and the second specific habit, the founder's exercise. Travel is the ultimate stress test for any habit system, right?
Oh, travel will destroy your routine instantly.
Yeah.
It strips away all your environmental cues, your regular gym, your normal schedule.
So the scenario is the founder skips her workout while traveling. She's on a plane, checking into a hotel at 11 p.m., eating terrible airport food. The workout simply does not happen. Day one is a miss, a data point.
The danger is waking up on day 2 in a different time zone, feeling lethargic. The friction to find the hotel gym, figure out the equipment, and do a full workout is immense.
Right. So what is the day two pilot light? How does she maintain this professional routine?
She does 10 push-ups in her hotel room the moment she gets out of bed.
10 push-ups. Again, going back to the skepticism, 10 push-ups will do absolutely nothing for her physical fitness.
Physiologically, it is a rounding error, but psychologically, it is the linchpin of her entire fitness identity.
It completely short-circuits the mental trap of, well, I don't have my specialized running shoes, and the hotel gym doesn't have the right kettlebells, so I'll just wait until I fly home on Friday to work out.
Exactly. If she waits until Friday, she has missed 4 consecutive days. The synaptic pruning is complete.
The habit is dead. The friction to restart on Saturday will be monumental.
She will feel heavy, sluggish, and defeated. But dropping to the floor and doing 10 push-ups keeps the identity of, I'm an athlete who moves my body every day alive.
The pilot light is protected. When she gets home on Friday, she just turns the dial back up to a full workout. It's so elegant.
It really is. It's about protecting the identity.
Okay, the third specific habit is one that I think resonates with almost everyone dealing with information overload. The rising leader's nightly reflection.
This one is so critical.
The scenario. The rising leader forgets her nightly reflection because she is just utterly drained by 9 p.m. She falls asleep watching Netflix or scrolling her phone.
Nighttime routines are exceptionally vulnerable. By 9 p.m., you are experiencing severe decision fatigue. Your prefrontal cortex, which is the part of the brain responsible for discipline and long-term planning, is essentially running on fumes.
Running on fumes, absolutely. So she misses Monday night, Tuesday night rolls around, and she is just as tired.
Right.
What is the 2-minute recovery here? She spends exactly 60 seconds reviewing wins and lessons before her head hits the pillow.
And we have to emphasize why a nightly reflection is a critical leadership ritual in the first place.
Why is it so important?
It is how you regulate your nervous system after a high-stress day. It is how you process the day's data so you don't carry that cognitive load into your sleep. And it's how you improve your decision quality for the next day by analyzing what worked and what didn't.
And she can do all of that in 60 seconds.
It is just enough time to trigger the mechanism of self-awareness. Even in 60 seconds, asking yourself, what was my biggest win today? And what is one thing I could have handled better? Forces a cognitive reset.
It prevents the days from blurring together into an endless reactive mess.
It protects the habit of self-inquiry.
I want you, the listener, to pause and map this onto your own life right now. Which of these 3 specific personas is staring back at you in the mirror?
It's worth really thinking about.
Are you the executive who keeps losing your strategic, deep work block to an endless barrage of quick questions from your team?
Mhm.
Are you the founder missing your physical routines because you are constantly in a different hotel every week? Or are you the rising leader who is just so cognitively depleted by the end of the day that the idea of reflecting on your performance feels like climbing Everest?
Because whichever one you are, the vulnerability is exactly the same.
And the mechanism is the same. Scale the habit down to 2 minutes, protect the pilot light, and never miss twice.
Because the framework is based on universal human neurology, not just situational tactics. It applies perfectly to literally any domain of professional or personal growth.
Let's zoom out now. We have dissected the microhabits, the neuroscience of the 2-minute momentum protectors, and the specific case studies. We've listed 3 specific habits for busy leaders, shown how to maintain them, and applied the 2-minute rule to these professional routines.
We've covered a lot of ground.
But how does this translate into the macro? If I deploy this recovery system, how do we create a long-term strategy for compounding small wins to achieve mastery?
This is where we move from the tactical execution to the overarching strategy of a career. Butler makes a profound observation here. She says, the higher you climb, the more your success depends on systems, not motivation.
Systems over motivation. That feels like the thesis statement for the entire philosophy.
It really is. When you're in your 20s, early in your career, you can brute force your way to success. You can use sheer enthusiasm, adrenaline, and late nights to overcome your lack of structure.
You just throw energy at the problem.
Right. You're motivated by proving yourself to the world. But as you climb the hierarchy, the complexity of your life increases exponentially.
The stakes get higher, the teams get larger, the financial implications of your decisions grow.
Exactly. You are managing economic volatility, personnel conflicts, board expectations, and likely a family and a mortgage on top of all that. The demands on your cognitive and emotional bandwidth are immense.
So in that environment, motivation isn't just an unreliable engine. It is a liability if it is your only source of forward momentum.
You cannot wake up every day and wait to feel inspired to do the hard, necessary work of leadership. A system operates regardless of your emotional weather.
And the specific system of never miss twice, powered by the 2-minute rule, is a highly resilient defensive structure. It protects what Butler identifies as the true, real competitive advantages of a high performer. And noticeably, working the longest hours is not on that list.
The era of treating sheer hours worked as competitive advantage is over. The true force multipliers for a modern executive are energy, focus, clarity, and decision quality.
Okay, let's break those down. How does this system protect those 4 pillars? How does a recovery mindset actually prevent burnout here?
Think about it. If you maintain the habit of physical exercise, even if it's just the 10 push-ups on a travel day, you're protecting your baseline energy. Energy allows you to execute. If you protect your deep work block, even with a 2-minute prioritization ritual, you are protecting your focus. Focus allows you to solve complex, non-linear problems that your competitors can't figure out.
In clarity.
If you protect your reading and strategic thinking, you protect your clarity. Clarity allows you to communicate a vision that aligns a team. And if you protect your nightly reflection, you are compounding your decision quality.
And in leadership, one high-quality strategic decision can be worth 1,000 hours of tactical busy work.
Exactly.
So by deploying these momentum protectors, you are establishing a non-negotiable floor. You are ensuring that your energy, focus, clarity, and decision quality never drop below a certain threshold, no matter how chaotic the external environment gets.
That's the key. Over a single week, the difference between the executive who misses twice and the executive who uses the 2-minute rule might be completely negligible.
You wouldn't even notice it.
Right. Over a month, you might start to see a slight divergence in their stress levels. But over a decade, compounding those small wins and ruthlessly maintaining that baseline of clarity and energy over years is exactly what builds unassailable career capital and exponential business growth.
It makes me think of the difference between an incredibly volatile tech stock and a broad market index fund.
Oh, that's a good comparison.
The perfectionist is the volatile stock. They have these massive heroic days where they work 14 hours and do everything perfectly. The stock spikes. But then they burn out, they miss a week, and the stock crashes. They spend all their time just trying to recover lost ground.
And the leader utilizing a recovery-based system is the index fund.
Right. They aren't trying to have heroic, flawless days every day. They are just trying to compound steadily at 8% year after year, refusing to let the compounding interest break. Decades later, the index fund always wins.
Butler defines the type of person who uses this system perfectly. She says never miss twice is consistency engineered for winners. People who play at a level where good enough isn't enough, but perfection is unrealistic.
That perfectly captures the tension of high achievement. You refuse to settle for mediocrity. You demand excellence from yourself and your team, but you have enough scar tissue and experience to know that flawless execution every single day is a complete fantasy.
This system lives in that highly productive middle ground. Clean, compounding progress is the ultimate long-term strategy for mastery. It's about building a machine that expects friction and is designed to process it without breaking down.
So what does this all mean? If we synthesize this entire journey we've been on, it means we have to completely redefine our fundamental metric for success. Success is no longer defined as never failing.
No, definitely not.
Success is no longer defined by how long your perfect streak is on your habit tracker. Success is redefined as rebounding instantly.
The speed of the rebound is the new metric of excellence.
It requires a profound, almost paradoxical shift in how you treat yourself. It requires intense self-compassion paired with absolutely ironclad accountability.
Yes.
You must forgive the first miss immediately, recognizing it as a simple data point of life, but you must hold an impenetrable boundary against the second miss.
Because that second miss is where the person you want to be starts to disappear.
Let's recap the territory we've covered, because the architecture of this system is critical to get right. We started by diagnosing the actual disease, the false idol of perfectionism.
We looked at how relying on motivation and demanding a 100% strike rate directly causes the burnout epidemic among high achievers.
We dissected the neurology of the failure, learning that the first missed day is harmless, but at the 48-hour mark, synaptic pruning begins, identity erodes, and invisible drag takes hold of your career.
We then installed the mechanical bypass, the power of the 2-minute rule to act as a pilot light. We learned how to bypass the amygdala's threat response and protect the momentum of a habit on your absolute worst, most chaotic days.
And we applied this to the gritty reality of leadership. We listed 3 specific habits for busy leaders and showed how to maintain them by applying the 2-minute rule to these professional routines. Protecting your strategic focus with a single written priority, protecting your physical energy with hotel room push-ups, and protecting your decision quality with a 60-second nightly reset.
All of this feeds into the ultimate macro strategy, creating a long-term strategy for compounding small wins to achieve mastery, abandoning the volatile stock of perfectionism for the compounding index fund of unbreakable consistency.
It is a comprehensive, biologically aligned operating system for sustainable excellence. And we've explained how a recovery mindset prevents burnout.
It really is a game changer.
So here is the challenge we want to issue to you right now. Do not try to overhaul your entire life tomorrow. Start with one high-leverage professional habit, just one, something that drives your energy, focus, clarity, or decision quality. Scale it down to a 2-minute momentum protector, and make a blood oath to yourself to never miss twice.
And as you move into the rest of your week, I want to leave you with one final, slightly uncomfortable thought to mull over.
Oh, lay it on us.
We established that 2 consecutive misses is the biological beginning of a new, unwanted habit. I want you to look back at your calendar, your actions, and your compromises over the last 48 hours. What invisible, accidental habit are you quietly building right now simply by missing twice? And more importantly, what 2-minute action will you take tomorrow to permanently break it?
That is the question you need to answer. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the architecture of consistency. Take a hard look at your routines, build in those pilot lights, and whatever you do this week, whatever you do, never miss twice. We will catch you on the next one.